regrette rien, ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal, tout ça m'est bien égal.
Okay, now before I commence with my journey on the Bushveld farm, I'd like to show you a painting done by an artist called Jan Engela. They've travelled from Pretoria going to Salisbury in Rhodesia, which is now called Zimbabwe. And they then stopped over on a farm, sleep over a couple of nights. And in one of his times, he actually did this painting of the original farmhouse which I grew up in. It's later been extended and built onto as, I suppose, life progressed. But yeah, I think it's a great painting, great memories. Big acacia tree there. There's a better one. And there you can see the dirt road in front running. It's not much of a road, but it was a road. The Bushveld farm. Now, I remember my life vividly at the times I've spent on this farm, Bushveld farm. I remember as a child we had like lots of fruit trees. We had guava, we had mulberry, we had pomegranates, we had yellow peaches, nectarines, all fresh from a tree. And we had a little koppie, or two koppies on the farm, but the one was close by home. And I recall that early mornings I would pick some fruit and I'd take my journey to a koppie, and there's rocks and things, and I eventually found an owl there living in a matope tree. A matope is a very slow growing hardwood indigenous tree, and it's wearing yellow berries, which is quite nutritious and clearly very healthy. I suppose lots of beta carotene. In this matope tree lives an owl. And an owl, yeah, is amazing because he's normally sleeping during the day, but if he's aware of something, he winks his eyes, and you see this enormous yellow eyes. And if you come any close, he starts clicking with his mouth. And he just went and sat away from him there on a rock and stared at him. So, and then I went back to the house, and the next morning I actually wanted to go and see the owl again. I thought, okay, I'm going to take the owl a piece of meat. So I went there, and same story, opened, winked his eyes, few clicks, I put the meat down there, and he just stared at it. I walked away, just so in the distance that I can see if he's going to take it. So I took a piece of meat. So I've befriended the owl, and it's an amazing animal. Obviously that's why they call the owl wisdom. But now from the farm later on, I would visit the koppie, and then from there on I would take the dirt road. There's this dirt road running through the farm, and walk on about 1 kilometer on the dirt road, and there was like a culvert, this pipe underneath the road, and I would just climb in there and sit there with myself and just thinking of things and of life. I don't know what I really could think at that stage. All I knew is that when I was on a farm I didn't realize what I've had, but I look at it from a totally different perspective now, and I realize that everything is energy, everything is vibration. And the fact that I'm walking barefoot, that sensation under my feet at the time, I couldn't describe it, but instantly I just knew, instinctively, I just knew I like it, I enjoy it. So yeah, and then you walk into a veld. From there, I get out of the culvert, and then I cross the fence and I walk into a veld. In the veld as well, it was quite a experience. In winter, it was grey, really grey and dull. And that's when you see most animals, because the grass is not that high. So there's impala, kudu, and the monkeys were always down at the river. But also little buck, duiker and small buck. And eland as well, waterbuck. So there were several animals, and it's just amazing. I always try to get as close to them as possible without chasing them away. And that's why sometimes I don't understand how people can hunt these animals. To me, it's no-go. And I've had partially why I'm a vegetarian. I'm 80% raw vegan, and I've got good reasons for it. I'll explain it through my journey. And also I've learned that I can actually survive from a veld, eating what is naturally appearing in a veld and in season. So then to my journey further in the veld, I carry on walking, and it's sometimes you get a springer, he just jumped up, and you frighten him. And I mean, you frighten him, but he gives you a hell of a fright just jumping out in front of you. And you just see his little tail, and there he goes off in the distance, bouncing around, and you just see him getting further away from you. And then there are warthogs. The warthogs, the mother and the babies, it's amazing. The mother run, and the tail is up in the air for the babies to see where she's going. And yeah, just to see that in nature itself, without them being in a cage like in zoos or things like that, it was a privilege I've had. I think then from there I would carry on walking down to a river. The river was mainly a dry bed during especially winter and autumn. Because some rain in springs and summer, yes, and it sometimes was like floods and things. And I remember going and take all my clothes off and lie on my back in the riverbed, that sand. The sensation I had it on my skin, I just found it was absolutely amazing. And then after the first rain, this grey veld all over were shrubs with little beautiful yellow flowers. So it's a different set of nature, which is most of the time neglected for that sense, because it's not forest and it's not like tropical, it's bushveld. And then and there's nothing like smelling the first rain on the dry soil. Then comes the ploughing. Now, a freshly ploughed land, it's a very distinct smell, and I don't think one will ever forget the smell. There's certain smells one just don't forget. I remember getting home and there was freshly baked bread, and that's also a different smell to that. It makes you feel at home. So, and that's basically what I've had as a child, and it was absolutely amazing. And I still believe at one stage we've got to get back to nature and live with as pure quantum as possible, as nature intended it to be. And yeah, I've been all over. I've been in the city. When I was on a farm, I just wanted to go to the city. So I've walked my journey, and I've spent lots of time in the city and traveling overseas, and just came to a realization what I've had on a farm, and I believe strongly that is what we've got to get back to. Get back to nature. It's got everything for us, and in our minds and heads we've got everything we need to know in this life. So next trip will be to school. It's also a very different experience, but also a growing experience for me, an exciting experience. So like I said in the past, you can join me on my very unusual, exciting journey I've had. But next time, going to school, hope to see you there. And for now, from this autumn sunny South Africa, have a lovely day.
Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien